You walked out of the interview feeling confident, you prepared, you practiced, and you answered every question thoughtfully. And then you didn't get the job. So you're left thinking, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. I've either experienced this myself or coached someone through this exact situation where you've done everything in your interview you can possibly do, but you're still left wondering, why didn't I get the job? In this episode, I want to break down why strong interviews don't always lead to a job offer and what you should focus on next. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, educator, best-selling author, interview coach, and I help aspiring school leaders get interview ready and confidently land their first leadership role. Today, we're talking about you did great in the interview, so why didn't you get the job? And I've either experienced this myself or worked with an aspiring school leader who has also experienced interviewing extremely well, preparing, doing everything that you could possibly do, but for whatever reason, you just didn't get the job. And this is a reality for many of us, right? You have to think about it. There are hundreds of applicants for these jobs, for these leadership roles, right? To be an assistant principal, to be a vice principal, to be a supervisor, department chair, whatever the case is. And we are going up against strong candidates, right? And so sometimes, for whatever reason, we just don't get those roles, that specific position, the one that we truly wanted, and we're left thinking, what did I do wrong? And many times you might not even get the feedback that you desire to learn what you did wrong so that you can do it better next time, right? And again, it's not always about you doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just not the right opportunity for you. And so I want to unpack today 3 key points in terms of what you can do, what you may be thinking, and how to pivot next to properly prepare yourself to actually land the role that you desire and do the things that are within your control. See, you can interview, you can do everything that you can prepare, right? But at the end of the day, you are not in control of somebody hiring you. And that's the way that it works. And I know that you understand that that's the way that it works. And so some of you, because you've reached out and we've had conversations, you have been interviewing for a year, for about 2 years, but for whatever reason, you just have not landed the role that you desire. And again, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about today that I think will bring clarity to this situation. And again, how we can move forward, how you can pivot and properly prepare to land that first leadership role. So our point number one is it wasn't just your interview, it was timing. And see, I'm a firm believer that you want to make sure that you're going into an environment, right? Like even if you interviewed and let's say you didn't get the job, you don't know the behind the scenes aspects of maybe there was an internal candidate that the district was already planning to hire, right? You just don't know the politics behind these decisions that are being made behind closed doors. And so you might be going into your interview, putting your best foot forward as you should, but you just don't know the behind the scenes, the things that are happening in rooms, in conversations that you are not a part of, right? And so it's not always you. Sometimes it could be about timing. Sometimes it's about environment. And when we talk about timing, you could be ready to be a school leader, but opportunities for you and your specific leadership style and your personality and the things that you bring to the table, maybe that specific district doesn't have an opening yet, but they will in the coming months, right? And so you just don't know, but timing does mean everything. You also have to think about many of these school districts are experiencing budget shifts, right? There are many school districts that have to shut down entire schools, right? Entire middle schools, right? Many people are losing their jobs. Unfortunately, it is extremely unfortunate, especially with the political climate and how things are in our world now, that people are losing their jobs, right? And so you don't know the behind the scenes things that exist, right? Salary constraints, budget constraints. There are many things that are outside of our control that influence these decisions. You can give a great interview and still walk into a situation where the decision was already leaning in another direction, right? That is another key point that we want to make sure that we are acknowledging, that it's not all about your skills and your competency. There are a lot of things sometimes that are outside of your control, and timing is one of them. So point number one, again, in terms of, let's say you just didn't land that first leadership role, it could be that it wasn't just your interview. It wasn't how you interviewed. It was actually about timing. Point number two, fit matters more than you think. Leadership style alignment, your approach versus their approach toward leadership, school culture, team dynamics, right? The principal or the district vision and priorities, all of those things matter. And how you articulate your vision, your mission, your core values might not necessarily align with the district that you are applying to and their core values. But that doesn't mean that you need to adjust who you are to fit a district. It just means that there are your core values that exist and that are excellent, that are amazing, that exist and that will merge with a district that truly values and truly makes that connection with who you are, right? It has a lot to do with fit, because fit matters more than you think. Hiring decisions aren't just about who's the most qualified, who had the most years of teaching experience, or who has the leadership experience, as opposed to other people who might not have 5-10 years in. They're also about who fits the specific environment right now. Many teams need a specific, right? It's like a puzzle piece. You could have all of these amazing leaders that exist on a team, but if the puzzle doesn't fit right, then the team dynamics might not necessarily be the best in order to improve teacher practice and increase student achievement. All of these things matter. Fit matters more than you think it does. You might be applying to 10 different jobs just because you want to be a school leader, not understanding that these 10 different positions, these 10 different roles, these 10 different districts and schools might not be the best fit for you, and you might not be the best fit for them. And so fit does matter. What I also like to speak to aspiring school leaders about is the fact that it also matters what level you're applying to. Elementary school, it might be middle school, it might be high school. All of those dynamics are extremely different, right? You're talking about you being a leader in a developmentally appropriate way in those specific environments, and they're all different. I have been fortunate enough to be a school administrator at each level, at the high school level, and then at the middle school level, and now at the elementary school level. And it's very different. It's vastly different. And you have to be able to understand that even when you interview, you have to be speaking differently depending on the level that you are applying to. All of that matters. And so fit does matter. Again, point number two is that fit matters more than you think. And lastly, point number three is don't let one interview define you. You have to refine and do not retreat. I don't want you to get into the habit of thinking that leadership is not for you just because you haven't landed your first leadership role yet. Keyword, yet. Because at the end of the day, we all are going to face rejection in our lives when it comes to applying for roles that we truly desire. But you have to be able to refine your interview skills. Don't retreat, but you have to get better. You have to start to understand your disposition and start to do some self-reflection and see, where did you go wrong? Or maybe you didn't go wrong at all in your interview, in your articulation of who you are, but maybe it just wasn't the right opportunity at the right time for you. The mistake is that you could be losing confidence after one rejection, after two rejections, after three rejections. But at the end of the day, it only takes one opportunity to change your life. That's it. One opportunity can change your life. It can change your family trajectory. It can change an entire school community because of what you will bring to the table. So do not give up. Continue to keep your confidence. Walk with your head held high and work toward getting better at your interview skills. Instead of doubting yourself, I want you to reflect, I want you to refine, and stay consistent. So a couple of things that I want you to think about improving when it comes to your interview skills. I want you to start having a clear leadership story. I want you to start having strong, structured answers. What type of framework can you implement in terms of answering your questions, right? Are you going to be able to give a little background? If you are receiving a question, right, from the interview committee, are you going to give a little bit of context into how you are going to answer this question, and then provide a specific framework, and then give step by step how you would solve this particular issue, and then end that question with a summary, right? You need to have a structured approach in terms of answering those questions. Those are some of the things that I want you to work on. And then I want you to start working on communicating your impact as a leader, not just a teacher, but as a leader. And then not just articulating your responsibilities, right? Everyone can read from your resume your list of responsibilities. And even if you're crafting your resume well, you should be talking about your impact and not just these are the duties and responsibilities that I have as a teacher. And that's why it's going to translate as a leader, because it does not. You hear me almost every week talk about how you can be an effective teacher. You can be excellent as a teacher. You could have been a teacher for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. That doesn't mean that that's going to translate to you being an excellent leader. We're talking about two different skill sets. And I need you to start thinking like a leader and start to use your leadership, your teaching responsibilities, and start to articulate the impact that you have had. It's all about impact. It's all about leadership. Yes, you are a great teacher, but how are you going to help and coach other people to become great educators as well? That is a skill set, that is a leadership competency that you need to be able to articulate. So when we talk about our 3 key points today, number 1 was it wasn't just your interview. It could have been the timing of that interview. Number 2, fit matters more than you think, right? So if you're applying for an elementary role or a middle school role or a high school role, you have to approach those things very differently, very strategically. And point number 3 was don't let one interview define you. You must refine and don't retreat. Continue to keep your confidence, right? But here's the thing. Confidence alone is not going to help you land that job. Yes, you need it, but you might need interview coaching. You might need someone that's going to give you the actual feedback that you have never received, because many of us interview for roles, but we never receive feedback to know what we need to work on. And so that's exactly what I work on with aspiring school leaders. We work through interview questions. We work through scenario-based questions, experience-based questions. We work on your leadership story, and I'm giving you real-time feedback so you can understand what you need to refine and some of the areas that you need to tweak while increasing your confidence so that you can be better during your next interview to help you land your first leadership role. If that's you, reach out, let's have a conversation so we can get you to where you want to be, so that we can refine your interview skills so that your confidence continues to stay high so you can land your first leadership role. I'd love to work with you to help you achieve the goal that you've been working diligently for. Let's work together. Reach out, let's have that conversation. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, share it with someone else so that we can continue to impact aspiring school leaders with interview preparation so that they can land their first school leadership role. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.